Okay. Hi, Edith. That's a beautiful painting. You want to say something about it?
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Good to talk to you. And
Hi, everybody. This is Edith LaMonica, and I'm Paul Baylock, and I'm trying to do a series of Zoom studio visits with my fellow artists. So today we're at the studio home of Edith LaMonica, and she's a painter. She's doing large-scale acrylic paintings, Edith, or oil?
they're oil paintings.
Oil paintings, okay. And we're looking
Paul,
at,
yeah. Can we start over? Because
sure.
I like my name to be Edith Skiba LaMonica.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, yes, sure. Hold on a second. Hold on.
No problem. You waited for me.
Okay. My brother just came.
Sure. Your brother just gave you a call.
Cool. I got a conference going on at mom's side. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay, sure. Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Let's see. Stop recording. Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Baylock, and this is Zoom Studio Visits. Today we have another artist, Edith Skiba LaMonica, and she's going to be showing us some of her work. Hi, Edith.
Hi, Paul.
How's it
How
going?
are you?
Good, thank you. Well, thanks for welcoming us into your studio. You want to show us some of your work?
I would love to do that.
Okay.
And I would love to show you my work.
Turn your screen around. Very good. Okay, tell us about these.
My work in general is really inspired and derived from the wetlands and woodland areas in this area of Connecticut. And I happen to have my studio backing on a lovely woods with a pond. The work I've been doing is recording and reflecting my observations and the things I'm seeing and noticing about the woods and the pond. I've always loved nature and been intrigued by it, and I particularly like nature in its raw or natural, wild form, let's say. So this, my location gives me an opportunity to take a really close look at what's going on in the woods and in the water and in the seasons and times of day. So I try to capture this in my paintings. So the top painting would be, as you can see, of water, which is simply a recording of the pond, but I'm looking at the reflections and the little debris and picking up that in my painting.
Edith, if I can interrupt, do you do these on the site, or do you take pictures and then come back?
I actually have many photos because I'm always, the changes occur so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of being there to capture them.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I spend, quite some time just looking and just really looking into what's happening, the different color of the lights, how light is reflecting, how the greenery is changing. And then I take the photos, but my point is not to record the realistic images, so to speak. What I really like to do is capture the feeling that it gives me from seeing the wonderment of the natural activities and development of what happens in raw nature. So
Mhm.
my paintings are basically about my feelings, my experiences translated to my feelings that I would like very much to share
Can
with
we get a
others
close-up?
who like nature as well.
Very nice.
So the bottom painting, as you can see, is quite a bit more complex, and we might call it a little bit more hectic. So most likely that comes out of a wonderful occurrence, which is rain. And rainfall does such a wonderful job of mixing up the reflections and disturbing the reflections in the water. The wind is blowing on the vegetation and the trees above. The water is moving. And so in this, I've tried to create that feeling, capture the sense of sort of the wilderness, and hopefully evoke that as I felt about it.
Very nice. Can you get a little close-up maybe?
If you'd like to see, actually get into the painting a bit, you'll see that it's really quite abstract,
Yes.
and it's freely painted and abstract because that's how I see nature. I see nature as not having this very rigid kind of way of working, but rather rainfall just as this giant disturbance. And I'm
Incredible.
trying to capture that with the free paint and the strokes.
Oh, you've really been successful in that respect. Very nice. You showed me one earlier of the monochrome one on the lower left. Let's take a look at that one.
Going this way?
Yep.
All right. This particular painting, as I was saying, is that I'm out there all the time in all the season times of day to just observe what's happening. And this lower one, as you might be able to deduce, is more of a winter. In winter, we lose all those wonderful colors of the other seasons, and we have sort of a monotone scene where we have snow, and sometimes in the pond, in the wetlands, we have some of the vegetation that's left from the fall.
Mhm.
And so there is some coloration of leaves perhaps under the water. There's also reflections from shading of the sun. So, and this one in particular, I wanted the sense of a melting snow so that it's not a complete black and white snow scene. And I named it January because in January, there's something we have called January thaw, where
Mhm.
we get a little warming up. And that would be the warmer color tone to give
I
you
love,
that.
yeah, I love that. Love that that warmth in there. It really gives it a nice contrast. Very nice. What's up above there?
Above is what I call blue rain. And many times, people will ask you, well, what's your favorite painting? And this one I think has a particular appeal for me in that it is very lively. And I think of it as a very kind of a happy rain, a good rainfall. And in it, I've also tried to capture the sense of the lights because just, with the rain, very often we do have some sunlight and that sparks off the water and the plants and the vegetation. So that's what I've tried to capture in here. The feeling
Mhm.
I'm after with this one is just this sense of activity, and but in a very sort of light and feel good way, so that it would be more reminiscent of more like deeply in summer, in
Mhm.
springtime, but in summer with the heavier greens there.
Wow. Oh, now this is the latest series you've been working on?
I've been working on this series for a number of years, and I continue with it because there are so many aspects of it to work on. And do we have time for one more
Of course.
painting?
Sure.
So I think I've got these two here, so let's see if I can just do a little bit, because I would see that the top painting, which is the more colorful one, was a painting that has to do with autumn or the fall. And fall comes in very uneven terms, as we know, depending on the weather. And so you can get some very uneven coloring in the leaves, in the trees. And again, I would say that I captured this one more in the evening, where the trees are darker, you see, and the light is coming from behind. But there were these wonderful, wonderful, colorful fall leaves that I just felt made such a wonderful contrast with the
Beautiful.
deepness of the, so the sun would be basically just, coming down. And I tried to capture, so I really call this one, I call it firecrackers or fireworks, because that's what it ended up reminding me of. Again, I start with the initial photograph, but I make it an interpretive, what I do, so that I'd rather give off the feeling or the sensation of it happening.
Yeah.
And that's how that one works. The one on the bottom is called Twilight, and that is capturing, basically we could call it a sunrise, a very early morning sunrise, or we can go to a later sunset, because the sun really is golden, red, and orange on both ends of the day. And again, this has more of the water feel to it, so that most of it really is reflections in the water, which
Beautiful.
is why the lots of runners in the trees. And again, I like to capture the shadow against the light,
Wow.
so that you have that feeling of the contrast.
You're really working a lot like Monet in his lily pond, aren't you, in a way?
Well, I was very interested in Monet, and I have studied him much like an old master. And I have painted lily pad and sort of learning from him. But it really was that one day I looked out my window and I realized that I had a pond of my own, and that my pond said things very different from Monet's, because Monet's pond was very controlled and gardened, and planned. But what I'm painting about is what is not controlled by humans. It's all out of our control. It happens naturally. And I think that is an important, always been important, especially now when the environment and nature and what our children and our grandchildren will enjoy is at stake.
Exactly. Wow. Is your pond nearby? Can we take a peek at it?
I will let you take a peek at it, and where it is I can just look right out of my studio windows here. And there is the wetland.
Amazing. Amazing.
So I'm constantly surrounded by my inspiration, and completely content. Just, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
It is never the same. So
yeah, amazing. Well, I'm going to let you go, Edith. I'm going to talk to you soon, and thank you so much for this visit.
thank you so much for letting me show you my artwork. And
Our pleasure.